Hey guys, so today I want to read. I thought I'd do a reading vlog because I discovered these recently. I'm new to BookTube, which is like the whole reading community on YouTube, but I'm super fascinated and super interested. I'm even a Patreon of one of the booktubers that I love the most, and I just got sucked in. So I'm really into it, and I recently started reading again. Like this summer, I would say I started picking up books and really being into it again. I had stopped for a really long time, so it feels good to be reading again. I've never been like a crazy reader, like hundreds of books per year. Like that's just never been me. But I did used to read much more than I do now. I actually even started a book club with my friends because I just want to get into reading more. Today I'm going to be reading Ready Player 2 by Ernest Cline. I'm reading it on my iPad because I just can't be bothered to buy the book. I really want to start reading this because my boyfriend is currently reading to the audiobook. So I kind of want to catch up to him and talk about it with him. I remember reading the first one and loving it. It was so good and imaginative, and I fell in love with the characters and like the challenges that they have to go through to discover. I don't even remember exactly what it was, but there were eggs or keys, or I might be getting confused with the movie as well, but I remember being really disappointed with the movie when it came out. And everyone I had gone to see it with, they loved it because they hadn't read the book, but there were so many changes that I just didn't really enjoy it that much. But yeah, we're gonna try reading this second one and see how it goes. What I think I'll do is read like 50 pages and come back to camera and kind of just talk about it a little bit. So there are 375 pages in total, so that'll give us like a few check marks to kind of talk about it. And yeah, obviously spoilers ahead because I will be talking about the movie, the book. Also, please let me know if there are any books you want me to read in like a reading vlog like this, because I would love to discover more books. And yeah. Okay, so I read to page 58, so I'm at chapter 3, starting chapter 3, and basically it's a mess. It starts off like directly after the previous book, and Wade is a huge asshole. Are we allowed to say that? Basically, I really dislike Wade. Winning the company that controls the Oasis really went to his head, and he's no longer in a relationship with Sam. What I wrote is, he's a prick. He doesn't care about world news, like he totally skips world news and goes straight to weather. And he just like a big sourpuss, like kills a bunch of trolls that have negative things to say about him. Just went on many killing sprees. Like can't take criticism much. Samantha is being like more humanitarian with her share of the company. And so now the premise is Halliday had another surprise. He had created a headset that you could record human experiences on the outside world slash experiences in the Oasis, and you can record those and rewatch them and slash sell them to people, and they are fully sensory. Like they're full sensory, like you can smell, you can taste, you're living the emotion of the person in the moment. So that is very dangerous. Obviously you can feel how dangerous it is while we're reading it, and Samantha was very against marketing that and giving it to the public, because it's very drug-like to me. Like they do talk about addiction to gaming and stuff, but also just like changing your emotions Like, that's what I don't like about drugs. I've never done drugs, but what scares me about drugs is that you have like a false emotion. So your real self can be sad, but with the headset in the game, ONI, it's called the headset, and with your ONI, you can be happy, you can feel good because you're living someone else's happiness. So very scary. So after finding the headset, they actually put it to a vote. Should they release this to the market or not? And the majority won, so it's going out to the market. Basically only Sam was against it because of what I just said. Also, Halliday had, I guess, another tournament or something going on in his head, because now there is the shard riddle. Like, another message was posted on his website after a certain number of users started using ONI. So the first part of the book is very much explaining this new type of technology and kind of us understanding what happened to Wade and Sam. Wade is just in a very bad state right now. So I'm anxious to keep reading, but obviously this is like an anti-hero kind of thing because I am not sympathizing with Wade. Like, he is so fortunate. He's gone from having almost nothing to having a lot. Like, he's multi-millionaire, living in his secluded mansion all alone with his robots, and he's spending like basically 12 hours a day with the ONI on, which is the maximum you can have, because there's a control setting that you can't have it on for more than 12 hours. It'll shut down on you. So he's basically always on there, goes to sleep, works out, eats, gets back on. So what a way to live, Wade. Awesome. I guess we need more information about this whole treasure hunt or Easter egg hunt or whatever you want to call it that Halliday left, because I'm not really sure. Like, we don't know what it will bring to the person who finds it, and it's been 3 years now, so time has passed. It's been 3 years now that he hasn't made any progress, really. Okay, so I've read another 50 pages. My eyes are starting to burn, but excuse me, I'm just about to start chapter 7. So what has happened so far? Okay, so the group is called the High Five. The 4 owners of the company, and the 5th one is Og, who is one of the founders of the company. Back when Halliday and him made it together, he ditched the company after a while, married Kira. Kira was a tension between Halliday and Og because they were both in love with her. She went with Og. So yeah, so the 4/5 are called the High Five. And we get introduced to the Low Five. Basically, Wade wants to win this shard, what's it called? The shard riddle. He wants to find the 7 shards of crystal or whatever. It's having to do with Kira. So Wade is living all of his days basically in the Oasis, wearing the ONI, and he is desperate to find those shards. So he offers $1 billion to someone who comes up with a clue, who gives him information about a possible shard. So we're with him when he receives an email by Lohengrin. Is that how you say it? She is basically this like YouTube personality, definitely a gamer. They call them Gunther. She has a Gunther themed show is what it says, and she's pretty famous. He's like subscribed to her, he watches her content, and she messages him saying like, I got a shard. I don't actually have one because I can't hold it, but you probably can hold it. Let me know when I can get my money and I'll show you where the shard is. They basically get in contact, and he's so annoying. Like, instead of just saying like sending her an email or like messaging her or something, he literally puts on his like invisibility cloak. He like joins into their secret meeting, her and the low five, her group of friends. They're in like their early 20s, creeps into their meeting, listening into their conversation and looking up like who they are in the real world, because he has access to all this data because he's the boss of the company. So I'm like kind of sickened by that. Like, okay, you're a creep. But so nonetheless, he does show himself to the girl. So right now she just showed him where the shard is. They went through. That's what I like about the first book, and I do like this aspect of the second one, is like the treasure hunt aspect. I love the references because there's a lot of references to music and movies. Like one of the low fives is called Rizzo, and she looks like Rizzo from Greece. I love like the references like that, but Wade is pissing me off even more now. So hopefully this is like part of his arc. Like he's pretty low right now and he'll like climb back up. But so far I don't like him. We'll see though. Maybe he's just in a funk. Yeah, so Wade has a crush on Lohengrin, which her real name is Skylar, because he looked it up like a little freako. I have to know who she is in the real world, and he could actually see her in the real world, because when you're wearing the helmet, like newer models of the helmet, I guess, have cameras that will film your outside body. So while you're in the game, you can make sure no one's like tampering with your body or like stealing your organs, because that's been a problem. So yeah, so he was actually like looking at her footage, like looking at her like motionless body. I'm like, okay, he's seriously a creep, and he has like all this power now, so I'm not into it. There are some positive aspects of the ONI, but I think like that type of technology is very dangerous, and the bad definitely outweighs the good. Like they're kind of trying to make it seem like it's a good thing because people with disabilities can use their bodies, they can use like the full function of their bodies, or that living other people's experiences, like even like their sexuality, has been a breakthrough of like gender fluidity and gender orientation and like gender identity in general. So like I guess those are obviously good things, but I think the negatives just outweigh it so much. Like people are addicted to it and they're not actually living in the real world. That's what Artemis Sam, that's like her biggest point, is like we're not taking care of our real world because we're living in this other world. And they're like, well, the other world sucks. Like the real world is like a shithole. We don't, like, no wonder we don't want to be in it. She's like, that's not gonna help anything. Building like some sort of vessel to go onto another planet. So she has issue with the fact that they're financing their like escape plan by not even trying to help the planet, basically, because you're just giving everyone an out to pretend like, oh, everything's fine, like nothing wrong with the planet, you're all wearing these masks. Anyway, Wade isn't even talking to Og anymore because I guess he was like pestering him about Kira and about Halliday, and he didn't want to have anything to do with those conversations. He said like, please don't talk about them anymore, like that's my dead wife you're always inquiring about. So Wade, I guess, didn't listen, so now they're not on speaking terms anymore. So that's very disrespectful. He doesn't feel very remorseful. Like he does say like, oh, I wish I could still talk to him, but he's saying that because he wants to ask him questions about this whole scavenger hunt thing. So it's not very remorseful, or he doesn't really accept Og's reasoning. So where am I at? So I'm currently at page 138, chapter 10. So I'm going to keep reading, and in a few pages I'll recap what has happened so far. Okay, so I'm at page 153 now. I'm starting chapter 11, and what has happened since I last spoke. So the big intrigue of this book is that Anorak, yeah, is back. He is the avatar of the late Halliday. He's become an AI using all the data from the ONI. We find out that Og is missing, and that when Anorak reveals himself, we know that Og is with him, and he's actually also released Sorrento, the previous bad guy from the first book. He released him from prison. So he has control of like everything electronic, basically. He retakes the robes from Wade. The robes are what gives Wade like all his invisibility properties in the Oasis. So he's basically like the mega user of the Oasis and has all this capacity, all this brain knowledge and everything. So he actually ambushes the High Five at a meeting. He shows up looking like Halliday, and he's like, boom, here I am. You guys are locked in to the Oasis. You can't take off your headsets. Like, they can't log out. They have to find the 7 shards to complete the riddle or the challenge, to complete like the Siren Soul challenge thing. I'm not really sure why he wants that Siren Soul. We don't know yet. What we do know is that he has access to the big red button that could close the Oasis forever, that only Wade had access to because he had those robes. If they don't like achieve the goal, they're all going to die, and everyone that is currently using the Oasis are going to die as well, because they'll have, when you wear the headset too long, you eventually like die from it, or you become like in this vegetative state. So everyone that are currently wearing that, including the members of the High Five, are going to die if they don't follow his wishes. Artemis Samantha is the only one who doesn't wear the ONI, and so she's like, oh, like, I'm not actually wearing one, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, well, I know that you're on a flight right now, and I took control of your flight. So you're just gonna stay in the air until all of this is settled, and that, you know, I free you or either, I guess, kill you. She decides to actually jump ship. She jumps out of her jet, but then he, I guess, realizes that and then sends the jet spiraling towards her, and there's this huge explosion, there's fire. We don't know if she's alive or not at the end of chapter 10. So I'm sure she's alive, but we'll see what's going to happen. Og has actually found the next shard, but they have no communication with him. We know that he's being like basically tortured by this AI and Sorrento. Yeah. Now we really know like what the whole story is going to be about, and I still don't like Wade. I'm not sure if that's going to change. Like, I know he apologized to Artemis, saying like, oh, you were right, like this is pretty dangerous technology, and we should have been more, you know, wary. But still, I'm still not into him. That's basically what's going on now. They are going to, I guess, work together to find the shards. Hopefully they incorporate the low 5 in that as well, because why introduce them to us if we're not going to see them anymore? So I'm pretty sure they'll be featured. So yeah, we'll see. Okay guys, so I've read another 50 chapters. I'm currently going to start chapter 16 and I just want to talk about what's going on. So I'm really into the section I just read. They found the second shard after completing the task. Now they're looking for the third one. So I forgot to mention that Sam is not dead and now she is back with them. She was gone to find like a secure location to join the Oasis again. So they have the second shard, and when he picked up when Wade picked up the second shard, he had another like realistic memory that belonged to Kira. So that happened with the last shard as well. He had like a really vivid, realistic moment in one of her memories. So they're thinking that maybe the whole challenge is to bring an AI of Kira back, or like a type of version of her. Maybe not an AI, but like almost an AI, kind of like how Anorak is back, or like the AI with all of Halliday's memories. Anyway, it's all very technical, but now they are looking for the third shard, and I love this. It is on a planet of John Hughes movies. So everything from Ferris Bueller, Breakfast Club, Pretty in Pink. Pretty in Pink is actually the main one because the clue has to do with Andy from that movie, and Ducky's there, and like it's basically an island with all of those movies combined together. So they're going through all of that, and I personally love the 80s and John Hughes movies, so I'm really into this planet and task that they have to do. Yeah, so that's what they're still doing right now. They're looking for the shard. There are like these little side glances and looks going on between Wade and Sam. So they obviously care about each other, but he was a huge a-hole. So I'm going to keep reading because I'm really into this planet, and we will see where it goes. But yeah, I'm liking this section the most so far. So I've reached another 50-page mark. So they finished what they had to do on the John Hughes planet. They got the third shard, and with that, another memory of Kira's. Sam also kissed Wade, so the flirtation, the love is coming back. So that shard gave them a clue to go to the Halcydonia planet, which is like a childhood game planet. Wade has a treehouse there, so they go to the treehouse, and it's pretty emotional for Wade because that's where he spent a lot of time with his mom. So he gets pretty emotional, and I do feel for him. And he also informs us that his mom, I guess I didn't remember this from the first book, but his mom died from a drug overdose, and with the new ONI, he actually took, well, he lived like a memory, or like an experience of a memory of someone else's, of the same drug that his mom had taken, which caused her to overdose. So he tried heroin in a way. It didn't affect his physical body, but he got all of the all of like how it feels through the ONI. So that's pretty scary and sad. So then they pretty rapidly get through that challenge. And I forgot to mention that Wade actually sent the low 5 back to the first challenge to try to find a clue, something out of place that might indicate what Og is trying to say to them, because they have found other clues like that of something just being a little off or that doesn't belong there. So they finally figured out what it means, that Og is probably located at the residence next to Wade's, his old house. He used to live there before when him and Halliday were close, and Yeah, so the Low Five are very much a part of the crew now. They are working with the High Five, and they have clues from Og to also find a weapon against the big bad. So against, what's his name? Against Anorak. So to get the fifth shard, they had to go to a planet called Afterworld, and it's all Prince themed, everything having to do with Prince. So I do like Prince music, but there's a lot of references that I did not understand. While they are there completing their challenge, one of the High Five members, Shoto, his avatar is killed and he ends up, his body is in limbo because his avatar will not respawn. So if they don't figure out what to do, he will die, and now he's not even available to help them. So he gets the fifth shard and has another memory of Kira's. And then the clue to the next shard takes them to Middle Earth, like Tolkien planets and very advanced stuff. Like this is not even like the Lord of the Rings era, it's before Lord of the Rings, so stuff that I am not aware of because I've only watched the movies. While they are there, H and Wade, they have to travel some distance, and they're talking about Samantha, how Wade still has feelings for her, and he hasn't explored Middle Earth that much because it reminds him of Samantha too much because she is the biggest fan of that. So they're just the two of them. They reach the castle that they have to go to, and there's like this giant dog creature guarding it, and while they're battling, H actually dies there as well. Or not as well, but she dies there. So now H is in limbo, and Wade is about to be killed by the dog. He's got poison killing him slowly. It's just a complete mess. He's about to die, and out of the sky falls, you guessed it, Sam. Artemis is there. She's going to save the day, but that's where I stopped. Yeah, there's only maybe 60 pages left, so I really want to finish it. I'm not sure if I'll be able to though, because I want to do other things as well. So I finished the book, but before that I have a book club meeting with my friends. We are talking about Beloved that we read. It was supposed to be like a November read, but we took all of December to read it, and now we're way into January reading this. It was really good, and we're going to discuss it. So I'm really excited to have a conversation with my friends, and afterwards I'll have a discussion with you guys about Ready Player 2. I'm eating cereal. So after Sam arrives at the Middle Earth challenge, she saves Wade, and they find the sixth shard. Obviously that comes with another one of Kira's memories. After that, Wade goes to the final planet, the one that has Anorak's castle, and finds the last shard and has once again an emotional memory of Kira's. Wade tricks Anorak into getting the robes back, and he goes directly to the room that has the big red button, because that's the only place where he can be really safe. His avatar can be safe from Anorak. Then he immerses himself inside of a robot that's out in the real world, and he goes to Og's residence. They have a battle there with Sereno. Sereno dies. Artemis is also there in a robot suit, and they basically get Og out, but he's on the verge of dying. He's really, really close to death. And he has to be the one to use the Dork Slayer, the weapon that can kill Anorak, that Lohengrin and her friends, the Low Five, are getting. Like, this is so complex, you guys. I don't even know what I'm talking about anymore. So Wade's like stalling Anorak, and Artemis is trying to revive Og. Og shows up to that room with the big red button, or like the perimeter around it, and he has a huge fight with Anorak, but he doesn't have the sword yet. Finally, they're fighting. Wade takes the time to broadcast the fight. He's starting to feel the intense effects of the ONI because he's been using it for over 12 hours now. So he's got splitting headache. He falls to the ground, and he still watches the fight on Og's broadcast. So a little strange. Lohengrin shows up with Dorkslayer, the weapon that will kill Anorak for once and for all. He kills him, and the real Og dies in real life, as well as his avatar dies too. So that brings us to the final chapter. Wade wakes up. He's in a hospital bed, I think like 15 hours later or something. So it's the next day. Friends are fine. Shoto and H are okay. He can see them on like these monitors that they're fine and their families are fine, and Sam's there with him. So he basically decides to go right back into the Oasis and tells Sam to go with him. So they bring Kira back with the 7 shards. She gives him the artifact of resurrection, some so-and-so, whatever it's called. This basically has the ability to create digital immortality. He can bring back into the Oasis any person who had on an ONI headset. Like, he can create a clone of himself from the last time he wore the headset. He could create a clone of Og, which is what he does. He brings back Og because at his final battle with Anorak, he was wearing the ONI headset. It has to be the ONI headset. So he cannot bring back his mom or his dad because that technology did not exist to them at that time when they died. But Og wore the ONI headset knowing that Kira might decide to bring him back. Kira is very like sane, I guess. Like, she's this AI entity of herself before she dies. But so they bring Og back. Him and Kira are making out. Sam immediately brings back her grandma, who was wearing the ONI headset during cancer and chemotherapy and all that. So she doesn't even hesitate to bring her grandma back. And the book basically ends that they send replicas of themselves into outer space, along with embryos and everybody else that has worn ONI headset. So a copy of, not the individuals, he doesn't resurrect them yet, but he has a copy of their last memory in storage or whatever, and he could bring them back when they do find a planet, or if they decide to do that. I don't know. But him and his friends and Kira and Og's digital copies are all going into outer space. These virtual people. It's very strange. They're basically AIs going into outer space, but while their real life counterparts are on the planet Earth. And the story has been told in AI Wade's perspective, is what we discover at the end. I have a few problems with this. I do feel like Wade is a terrible character in this. That being said, I do think it's realistic. I think a teenager that gets a crap ton of power and money in a split second will go ballistics. And that's what Wade did. He abused his power by, like I was saying at the beginning, like killing trolls and spying on people's conversations. And he would watch video feeds of Artemis. So basically stalking her, spying on her, watching what she's doing, who she's with, and all that is very twisted. And his character only feels remorse because of the fact that there's a bad guy. If that whole situation with Anorak did not happen, he would still be the same character. He doesn't realize the danger of technology. At the end, they say that he never wore an ONI headset again. Okay, good. You're still the owner of the company. You're still selling the product. So if you're not even yourself using the product, like, how is this a good thing? By the way, sorry, there's a vacuum here. Whoops, not very cute. So you're not even using your own product, but you're mass selling it to thousands and thousands of people. I don't know about that, you know? And I'm pretty disappointed that Sam actually stays with him. I feel like I don't get it. Okay, sorry, I was gone, just came back. So yeah, I don't think Sam held her end here, you know? This guy is very problematic, Wade, and she takes him back like this, without any development on his part. And the fact that she would bring her grandma back so swiftly when she's the one that's more critical of technology and everything that's been going on, I think, you know, take a breather, have a moment here. Just because Kira and Og say it's fine to be these AI entities, you know, I think there's definitely some reflection to have regarding that. It's also bringing back people from the dead that, I'm not saying that they don't want to come back, but you don't even ask them. They don't have a choice. And all these bots or all these AI people that they have stored in the Arcadia, which is their vessel out of space, like, they haven't given authority to these technomaniacs to bring them back from the dead, or even to create clones of them while their real counterparties on the planet. Anyway, so I think all that is very problematic. I think Halliday was an asshole and had to live Kira's memories to basically realize that she's just not that into you, bro, and that you're pretty perverse and pretty much a bad person for storing her memories against her will, bringing her back as an AI. I think that's very twisted. So I did enjoy the book. Why is it so dark now? I think some challenges were more entertaining than others. My favorite one was definitely the Pretty in Pink John Hughes one. Overall, this is a 3-star read for me, and 3-star towards the 2-star, not towards the 4-star. So this has been my first read, like, on YouTube, and I don't know if you guys liked it. I don't know if I liked it. I really enjoy watching people read books, but I think I went a bit too methodical and gave too much of the story away. Like, this has been basically a big summary full of spoilers, full of everything regarding the plot, and just then a little bit of my thoughts sprinkled in there. So I think maybe in the future I won't be so forward with my description of the book and just talk about my opinion. I think with that, I'm going to conclude this reading of Ready Player 2. If there are any other books you'd like to share with me and for me to read this way, please leave them in the description below. I'll see you in another video. Bye!